Welcome to the soap opera of the stars. This is week 5 of May and just the beginning of June. So basically 27th of May 23 to 2nd of June 23. As always, I'd like to begin with sharing I'm not an astrologer, I'm not a human design expert. I use astrology and human design both for myself as well as with my clients in my intuitive energy practice. And I've worked for about 14 years with that intuitive ability and 1,000 people. And in the last couple of years, where I have been using astrology and human design, I've definitely found that it helps to inform in terms of how we need to look at ourselves and what we need to understand about the general themes that are influencing our lives right now. The whole point of sharing these as stories is to make them a little lighter, to make them a little more fun, and to really look at what are the themes that they are bringing up. The reason why I share them at the end of the week instead of at the beginning is because I feel rather than use it as a predictive tool, it is better to use it as a tool for self-growth, personal development, and to really look back at how these themes have impacted us, what are the questions that need answering, and how we need to move forward in life or go deeper in terms of our self-work. I do share on Instagram a general theme for the week, short videos, which is at the beginning of the week. So you're welcome to look at that and then to use these more from the perspective of how has this impacted me and what can I do with it going forward. So let's begin with the stories. Pluto is feeling like a mess. She's so not looking forward to going back to the routine in the house of Capricorn. She just felt so much better here in Aquarius without all those bells ringing, letting them know what time of the day it was and what to do. All that regimentation. And sure, she'd adjusted to it, even thrived for a while, but she was happy to have gotten away from it all. And now, she wanted to cry. Plus, she was getting this feeling that she was fighting with everyone, that everyone seemed to think she was way too high-handed, and that somehow didn't seem like a nice feeling either. Which was odd because she'd never really bothered, but somehow she was feeling all this projected hate, and it was no fun. The moon was in Scorpio too, and feeling blue, as the moon always did when she came to her house, and she wasn't sure Shana was feeling his best either. He'd started packing already. Pluto was confused at why the advanced planning. Was it that bad to be in Scorpio? She wasn't really feeling very good about herself. To top it all, she was feeling so much pressure from Mars and that stupid film project of his. And that just made her mad. Mars was always like that, finding a new toy to play and getting all hyped about it and wanting to share it with her like a younger brother. And when she was the voice of caution or asked for temperance, he would stomp around in a huff. Why was she always the bad one, she thought. And there it was, the Neptunian fog again, and she was grateful because it did give her a sense of relief every time she'd spoken with Neptune. There, aren't you being a little hard on yourself, says Neptune. You know that you are the change agent for the cosmos. You know it is your job to keep us all on our toes and always moving forward. You know that you're the queen of the shadows and also the holder of the ultimate treasure of transformation. So why so unhappy? I don't quite know, Pluto says. I'm feeling suffocated right now. I'm feeling the taste of my own medicine maybe. I know I had a good 15 years to get used to Capricorn, and I did, but now the thought of being back there, as necessary as it may be, makes me feel sick to the stomach. I think it's a good idea if you speak with the others, Neptune says mysteriously and disappears. Huh? Thinks Pluto. Which others? She wonders. And just as she thinks this, Venus pops up on her communication panel. Ah, says Pluto, a little lost about what to say. Neptune asked me to speak with you, responds Venus, a little defensively, but also a little concerned as she saw Pluto deflate in front of her eyes. I'm just not feeling great, says Pluto, and Venus nods gently, letting her know she understands. You know, says Venus, as if settling to tell a story. I can't really understand what you were going through, given you spend so much longer in these houses than I do. But I can tell you what just happened when I entered into Cancer. Honestly, I was so excited because I was so looking forward to get out of Gemini. I thought my head would burst out there. There was so much happening. But then being in Cancer made me feel quite frustrated in the beginning. It took me time to get out of my head and into my body and shift gears. And the reason I'm sharing is because perhaps the opposite will happen for you. Perhaps all that you are feeling right now will feel silly when you're back in Capricorn and feeling the comfort of the familiar, seen from another direction this time. Pluto nodded a little thoughtfully and a little doubtfully, or it could be the hell you're anticipating, Venus shrugs, making Pluto shake her head with a sudden switch, but also sitting up as if paying more attention. Venus excused herself just as Pluto got calls from Taurus and Scorpio simultaneously and was greeted by the trio of Nona and Jupiter in one room and Shauna in the other. Feeling a bit challenged, are we? Shauna begins and without pause continues to say, isn't it exciting at the same time? Pluto gives a little gasp of surprise. What's with these guys today, she wonders, going on in these weird conflicting statements? Yeah, says Shauna, it's like a roller coaster. You're terrified and yet it makes you feel free and expanded and thrilled at the end of it. For you, shifting homes must be a bit like that, given you get so very comfortable in one. I'm sure you'll be okay when you get back there. Wasn't this always your plan though, Nona chimes in. From what I remember, you didn't pack all your stuff, did you? No, I didn't, admits Pluto. I think that was quite forward thinking of you, says Jupiter. It's a good plan to ease yourself into Aquarius, you know. This way, you've dipped your toe here and know you've enjoyed it so far, and now you can prepare better for the much longer stay you have planned. Longer than in Capricorn, in fact, Jupiter says again. It really is a good plan. Kind of ensured you have a safety net, didn't you? Nona says, and Pluto appreciates the tenacity at making her remember why she did this in the first place. I guess I just didn't expect to feel like this about it, thinks Pluto to herself. They are right. I had made this decision, knowing this was the most effective way for me to make the more permanent shift. She feels better and continues chatting and is brought up to speed on the fireworks between Sun and Saturn from last week. The Sun and Mars, meanwhile, are also having a conversation about the fireworks from last week. The Sun hopes that Saturn is a little more settled than before, and Mars thinks Sun needs to have another conversation with Saturn to sort things out. Sure, I guess I will. I mean, I do admire Saturn. He's such a master at whatever he does, and once he gets his teeth into something, he makes sure he's doing it well. So I guess he's got his teeth into decoding the emotional realm and will come up with the stuff that perhaps none of us have ever considered. Looks like Gemini is getting to you, Mars laughs. What's going on with this whole mastery thing? It's just that we move from place to place and idea to idea, whereas these guys kind of dig deep. Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and to some extent Saturn as well. They do the work that none of us can do. We're good with showing a vision and getting attention to what we need and all of that, but the real gold is in the work these guys are doing, building foundations, don't you think? Mars nodded. Yes, I do have more respect for deeper work since my time in Gemini. This is true. I hated having to go back on all the learning, but that actually helped me with really understanding the concepts. And from there, they went on to Mars's idea of the docu-series. But when they finished, Sun realized he hadn't forgotten Mars's suggestion to call Saturn. And so he did exactly that, and taking a page out of Mars's book, spoke to Saturn about how he understood the space Saturn was coming from and would be happy to discuss the ideas and see where they go. It wasn't the easiest conversation for either of them, but one that came from a willingness to understand, and therefore a better one than the previous one. Venus, having had the chat with Pluto, was having a fascinating conversation with Uranus. She too was feeling inspired to write a memoir about all she was experiencing and thought she should check in with the other being, also writing a book. Uranus was advising her to make sure she included not just the highs and lows, but also the humdrum. What do you mean? Venus asked. Well, Uranus said, I just feel that people only represent their lives in the highs and the lows. I faced this challenge and I overcame it or succumbed to it like this, and then I managed to do this from this learning, and ta-da, a book is written. So what else? Venus asked. Well, no one talks about the everyday journaling, the everyday showing up to do the work, the everyday choice to feel one's emotions, the everyday daily things we do to make us feel nourished. You know, the everyday that stacks up and then becomes that strength to move forward. Or then the everyday that stacks up and becomes the reason you're lying on the floor in tears. We don't talk about that everyday nourishment or lack of it that we give ourselves in order to ensure that either we're moving forward or that it piles up and hits us where it hurts. Wow, says Venus, realizing Uranus was onto something. She just wasn't sure exactly how to translate it, but was determined to do so. And so the stars are asking us, what do you do every day, and where is that taking you? Is it taking you to a place of mastery that adds value to the collective? Or is it taking you to a space where the only way out is life shaking you up to looking at things differently? Is it taking you to a space where you feel burnt out and tired and just don't have the motivation to keep going? So would you like to change that everyday choice? What would you like to switch it to? Or how could you level up what you are already doing? Now, if any of this resonates with you and you would like to work deeper, I would love for you to write to me on asoneis.pn@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram where I'm at Pallavi108. Of course, you could leave me comments here. In fact, please like, share, subscribe, and do share these stories if they feel good to you. I would love to be able to empower more people to feel less pain and more joy and relief in their lives. And I would like to share with you all the love and light that I can channel. Thank you.